Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. In today's lesson, we're going to be doing something very cool. We're going to be making our own custom quick launch widget. Now, it's called a quick launch widget because it quickly opens up Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, and YouTube. Now, these are the four social networks that I use the most. Well, not social networks, but the four most used websites that I use. And I've provided the download pack on my website. I'll put the link in the description, teknikhackers.com. You guys can see my Android apps. Please download either one of these two, rate and comment if you guys want to. But if you scroll down a bit more, you can see YouTube tutorial resources. You just want to download the widget project resources. Now, you guys don't have to download this if you don't want to. If you want to create your own design or your own colors and stuff, you guys can, because my project resource pack comes with a Photoshop PSD that you can edit, and the Netbeans project, which basically starts you off in the same place that I'm starting off in the video. So if you guys want to custom design your own one, if you want to have a different shape and stuff, you guys can start from scratch, basically create your own project. But if you just want to get something working, and I mean, this looks pretty good, there's no watermark, anything, so you guys can call this your own once you make it. It's completely up to you. So I'm going to assume that you've downloaded this widget project resource, but if you haven't, I'll just cover over a few things. Firstly, I didn't add a stop button, not a stop button, a close button, so I have to close mine through Netbeans. You guys can just add a close button in your own spare time. But firstly, the main point is that we're not using a JFrame this time, we're using a JDialog. So the reason why we're using a JDialog is because when you launch the program, the icon doesn't actually appear in the taskbar. So obviously, as a widget, you guys don't want that taskbar icon, and nor does it show in this system tray. You guys can add code if you want to add into system tray. You can probably find the code on Google somewhere, one of the forums or something, Stack Overflow, Code Ranch, I don't know. So the first thing that I want to go over is we want this thing to appear in a different location. Now, if you've downloaded my pack, you guys will see that we've already given icons. I forgot to mention this first. I've already given you guys these four icons as well as the pressed PNG. Yeah, I'm going to provide a link in the download, not the download section, in the comment section, not the comment section, what is it called? The description. And basically it's a link to a website that has 40 of these icons, which are flat, long shadow designs. So you guys can download them and replace, if you don't like Amazon, you guys can replace Amazon with Vimeo or MySpace or whatever the heck you guys use. So I'm going to provide that in the description. You guys can modify the thing to match your specs. You can see each picture is 54 by 54. So I mean, you guys can manage with that information. So let's get started with the tutorial. Now, the first thing you'll note when this thing launches is that it launches in the middle of your screen. I don't like it to launch in the middle. I want it to launch somewhere on the top, sort of like a dock. And we're also going to implement you know, like a drag method, so you can drag it around your screen and place it somewhere else if you want. But the default startup location when you start up your computer will be on the top, sort of like a dock in the top center. So what we first need to do is we need to set the location of this to be wherever we want. So let's go into the source code, and then after inner components, we're just going to add a comment. So set new start up location. And then, yeah, we're simply going to say this, meaning this JDialog dot set location int x and int y. So this is going to take a pixel value, not a pixel value, but an integer value, and it's going to translate that int to a pixel. So my screen width is 1920 and the height is 1080. So if I say, if I want this thing to pop up in the middle of my screen, all I have to do is I'll have to say the width of the screen divided by 2. And I know that's 960, so if I use oh goodness, sorry about that, guys. If I use 960 and then relaunch this, you guys will see it'll pop up in the middle of the screen. Now, this is not technically the middle of the screen, but the way that Netbeans or Java draws stuff is from 0.00. So when we specified 0.960 or pixel 960, which is halfway in the middle of a screen, it snapped to 0.960 by using 0.00 on our GUI, which is the point right there. So that is actually correct. So in order to get this thing to appear right in the middle, we have to take the length of this GUI and divide it by 2. And I made the length of this 280, I think. So I'm just going to minus 140. And let me just close this real quick and then relaunch the program. And you guys will see it's now popping up in the middle of the screen. Now, I'm quite happy with that. There's a few things I want to change. I want to change the Y value to be about 20 pixels. So it's a little bit offset, so it'll appear somewhere there. It won't appear like pressed against the top. You guys can see that looks really nice. Now the thing to note is that if you guys load this on another computer, and let's say that computer screen is 1024 by 640 or something, the problem with that is that you're gonna go from pixel 960, which is definitely not the center, because your 1024 screen will probably be about this big, and then the GUI will launch somewhere here, so it'll almost be right against the edge of the screen. So in order to make this appear in the middle of the screen at all times, we're not going to fiddle around with the Y value, because 20 pixels is fine. I mean, it's not going to change much even if you launch it on a much smaller screen, something like 1366 by 768. The 20 pixels is not going to make that much difference. It'll look like it's a little bit lower down, but it won't worry anyone. So in order to get the startup location in the center every time for no matter what size screen you have, we're going to use a method to actually get the width of your screen. We're going to simply divide that answer by 2, and then we're going to minus the size of it by half the GUI. So a little bit of maths involved here. So after this public class, you just want to type in int width. Okay, so we're going to type in int width to basically get the width of the screen, and we're going to make it equals to toolkit dot get default toolkit. Now you have to add the import for the toolkit. There we go. And then after toolkit dot get default toolkit, you're going to type in dot get screen size, and then we're going to type in dot width. Now you can either choose width or height. We're obviously going with the width, so that's going to get the width of the screen, which mine is 1920. Then we're going to simply say divide by 2. So let's put this in brackets. After width, just put in \2, so it'll divide it by 2, and then put the closing bracket on that. And then afterwards, we're going to type in minus 140, which is half the size of our GUI. You can see, hang on a second. Open the properties. You can see the width is 280 and the height is 75. So I simply said 280 divided by 2, and then I got 140. And then you just want to copy this width value, and instead of 960 minus 140, you're just going to paste it in there. And that's going to launch in the middle of our screen every time, no matter what size screen you have. So that's how we get it in the middle of the screen. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make this thing draggable, so you can drag it anywhere around on your screen. And in order to do this, we're going to implement something that I've created in one of our older tutorials, the JFrame Part 2. I'm going to leave that link in the description. I'm just going to go over this code, and then you guys can, if you want a more detailed explanation, you can watch the other tutorial. So let's get started with this frame drag. Now we're going to select the background. So as long as you click and drag the background, it'll move around. So we're going to right click the background, go to events, mouse, and then mouse pressed. And in the mouse press, we're going to say x mouse is equal to evt.getx, and then y mouse is equal to evt.getY. And then we're going to add the imports for, not the imports, we're going to add the integers for x mouse and y mouse. So we're just going to say int x mouse. You don't have to put in any value for it, and then int y mouse. And then those two are done. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to select, we're going to set the event, and then mouse motion, and then mouse dragged. Now in here we're going to say int x is equal to evt.getx on screen, basically getting the value of the x coordinate or the x pixel on the screen, and then int y is equal to evt.getY on screen. So this on screen method basically means it's getting the coordinate of the actual full size screen. So if I click on the bottom right hand corner of my screen, it's going to be 1920 by 1080. Okay, and then after this we're going to type in this, meaning this JFrame or this JDialog dot set location. We basically covered this already, and then we're going to select the new coordinates. So this is going to be x minus x mouse, and then y minus y mouse, and then this should make it draggable once we launch the program. And as long as you click and hold the background, you guys can see it'll move around, and you can drag and drop it on that corner if you guys like, or in the middle of the screen, or wherever you guys want to put it. So if you want to keep it there, you guys can. That looks pretty good. So I'm just gonna close this real quick. Actually, while we're here, let me just start up the next bit of code. So I have these buttons, right? And if you guys downloaded the resource pack, you can see I've already implemented the set cursor method that changes when you hover over each one of these buttons. Now, in here I have 8 different button styles. I have Amazon.png, which looks like this with the border, not really the border, but like a shadow. And then you have Amazon Press, which basically gets rid of the shadow. And we got the same thing with Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So there's 8 different style buttons, or 8 different style images. And when you click on Facebook, I mean, when I click on it now, it looks pretty dull, right? It doesn't look that good. So when you click on the Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, or YouTube, it doesn't really have any user interactivity. You guys can see it just looks plain and boring. It doesn't make it look like you're actually clicking the buttons. So we're gonna set it the different icon. So we're gonna set the Amazon press or the Facebook press button when you actually press down your mouse, and then when you let go of your mouse, it'll switch back to the default. So in order to do this, we're just gonna right click on our JLabel, which in this case, let's start off with the Facebook. Right click, go down to events, mouse, and then mouse pressed. And then in here, gonna get rid of this generated code. We're going to type in image icon. We're going to basically be setting an image icon is equal to new image icon, and then on the next line you want to type in your JLabel variable name. Mine is called Facebook.setIcon, and then in the brackets you're going to put in II. So you have to add the import for image icon, and then in these brackets for the image icon you're going to type in getClass.getResource. And then it takes a string value or a string parameter. Now the parameter you type in here is the link to your image. So mine is called facebookpress.png. Okay, so now when we run our program or our widget, you guys can see when I click on the Facebook button, when I press down my mouse, it changes to that other icon, the pressed icon. And yeah, so now when you release your mouse, you want it to change back to the default, which is basically the same icon but with that shadow around the edge of it. So we're simply going to change the event. We're going to create another event. Whoops. And this is going to be the mouse released event. So you can see Java has some nice event handling. So you go down to events, mouse, and then mouse release. And mouse release is basically when you let go of your mouse, like when you take your finger off. You know, when you basically, I mean, you guys know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm saying, but you guys know what's happening. So to make it quicker, we're just going to copy the same code, and then instead of saying facebookpress.png, we're going to type in facebook.png. Now, if you guys are wondering where these names are coming from, they are actually links to, or they're actually the same name to these images right here. So, and you also have to put the extension. Don't forget the extension, because you can have JPEG, bitmap, GIF, all types of different extensions or different formats of the same picture with the same name. So you have to specify the extension on the end, and obviously I'm using PNG, so PNG. And now when we click our mouse in, you guys can see it changes to the press icon, and then when I let go of my mouse, you guys can see it switches back to basically the default where it's got the shadow. So that's how it looks when you click on something. It makes it look a bit more like a button. Not really, but I mean, my Photoshop skills are pretty novice, so mine aren't the best. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste the same thing over and over again, and you're simply just going to change the picture that you're changing and what label you want it to change at. So instead of saying Facebook.setIcon, we're going to use Twitter, then Amazon, then YouTube. And that's basically what you're going to do with the mouse press and mouse released events for all of them. So I'm going to do these real quick, and then I'll see you guys in a second. Okay guys, so I'm just finishing up the last bit of code here, and then let's test out our widget now. So we got Facebook working, Twitter's working, Amazon as well, and YouTube. So those are all the buttons. Now you guys can see when you want to drag your widget around, you cannot drag it by clicking on one of the buttons. You have to click on the actual background. So wherever you can see this normal cursor is basically where you can drag it around. When you see the cursor change to the hand cursor, you can't drag it because that's actually the button, not the background anymore. So we have those 4 buttons implemented. Now all we have to do is put in the code for this. So we're going to open up Facebook in Google Chrome, Twitter, Chrome as well. Basically your default browser, whatever you have set as your default browser, is what it will open up as. So I know most people are using Chrome, so you guys will most likely open it in Chrome as well. Now before we get started with this bit of code, this code is actually like 3 lines of code. The main code is only 1 line, and what I suggest is you have to actually get JDK7. If you don't have JDK7, go ahead and download it and then simply change it in your project resource. So right click properties, libraries, and then select manage platforms, add platform, and then Java standard edition, and then look for the JDK 1.7. You guys have to use JDK 1.7. I'm using 1.7 update 51. You guys should use whatever the most recent one is, and as long as you have JDK 7 and up, this method will work for you. If you have JDK 6 or below, it's not going to work because it's not contained in that development kit. So make sure you're using JDK 7 for this. Now there are other ways to open up your browser. You guys can use the CMD prompt, not actually the CMD prompt where you go into the Windows and then type in run, but you can actually remotely do it in Java. It's a bit slower than using this method here, but we're just going to go with the most up-to-date method, which is the method I'm going to show you guys now. So to make things a little bit easier for us to manage, instead of going in here and typing out the code all the time, let's create a class because well, why not? It makes everything a bit more neater and everything a bit more professional. So right click on the package name, go down to new, and then you're going to look for Java class, the second one for me, and just name it launch browser, and then remove the horrible generated code that Netbeans gives us. And now we're just going to create a few methods. So we're going to say public void, because we aren't going to be returning any values. We're just going to launch the browser with the URL. So public void launch, let's go with Facebook, launch Facebook. And then okay, let's just deal with Facebook for now. We're just going to copy and paste it 3 more times. So in here we're going to type in try, because this can fail. If you guys are using exception E, we can actually use IO exception, because that's a bit more detailed. You have to add the import for IO exception. Okay. Now, as I was saying, this can fail because if you're using Ubuntu Linux, sometimes the more recent version of Ubuntu doesn't come with the package that will allow you to basically launch the browser with this method that we're going to be using. So you have to download an external package. So if this fails, you guys can output an error message or give an error message saying it does not support it or something. But you guys will see you can actually have a method that tells you if it's supported or not. This method basically that we're going to type in now. So the method we're going to be using is in the desktop class. So we're going to say desktop.getDesktop. Add the import for desktop. There you go. And we're going to type in .browse, and then it takes URI, so URI dot create. Make sure it's all capitals for URI, and then in here you're going to type in your string. So I'm going to go with www.facebook.com. Okay, and that should open up at Facebook. So now I'm just going to copy the launch browser. So this is the class. Now we're going to create an object of the class in our widget GUI JDialog form. So what I'm going to do is, to make everything a bit faster, well, after we initialize all our variables, we're going to create the object of the class up here. So launch browser LB equals new launch browser. So we're only going to create one object of the class and then just basically use the methods in this class whenever we need to. So when we release our mouse, that's when we want to open up whichever one is appropriate. So in this case, let's work with Facebook. So after I release my mouse, we want Facebook to pop up. So we're going to go to events, mouse released, and we already have code in here. So after we set the Facebook icon to facebook.png, we're going to simply say LB, which is our launch browser variable name. You guys can see up here, LB, and you're just going to simply type dot, and you guys can see all the methods that LB has built in. So we created one called void launch Facebook, so we can just click on that, and this should launch Facebook in our browser now. Okay, now when I click on this this button right here, you guys can see now if the other three work. When I click on the Facebook button, it'll launch up facebook.com in your default browser. So I'm using Google Chrome. So it launches up in Chrome. If you guys have your default browser set as Internet Explorer, it'll open up as Internet Explorer. So if you guys want, you guys can invite me on Facebook, and while I'm here, you guys might as well like my Project Javas page. You guys can see a video over here where I compare the speed of my Project Javas to Siri and S-Voice, and I have screenshots and stuff. It looks really cool. So if you guys want to be a fan, or if you guys just want to follow my updates and stuff, and this will be released to everyone once I'm done, you guys can just go ahead and like my page. I have a few likes already, and yeah, that'll definitely help me out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our launch browser class. Let me just close this real quick. Back into our launch browser class, and we're just going to copy this 3 more times. So 1, 2, 3, and we're simply going to change launch Facebook to launch Twitter, and the next one will be launch Amazon, and the last one is launch YouTube, I think. And then we're just going to change this URL. So instead of facebook.com, we're going to say twitter.com. Instead of Amazon, we can say amazon.com. And then instead of this YouTube one where it says Facebook, we're going to type in youtube.com/VertexDigitalArts. So it'll link to our channel. Now all we have to do is we go back into our code, look for the Twitter mouse release bit of code, and we're going to type in lb.launch Twitter. And you're basically going to do the same thing for Amazon. So lb.launch Amazon, and then the last one is the YouTube. So lb.launch YouTube, and now we should be good to go with our widget. Now when we run this, you guys can see we click on Facebook, it opens up facebook.com. Click on Twitter, it's opening up Twitter, amazon.com, and then youtube.com/VertexDigitalArts, which is our channel, the guys that you're watching this video on. So if you guys want, go ahead and subscribe to us. We have lots of videos. Also, before you guys post a question, if we have another video, make sure to check out our series first. We have a whole bunch of them, gameplays as well. But the Netbeans Advanced Series tutorials is where you'll find some really cool videos, some custom stuff as well. You can see the custom JFrame that I linked you guys to earlier, so make sure you watch that one. But yeah, that's just for our channel. You guys can invite me on Twitter, Facebook, and Amazon. If you guys want to buy me some stuff, you guys can if you want. So yeah, you guys can see I'm into Android game programming and Android app development as well. If you guys just want a little bit of insight. So anyways, there you have it. We have our quick launch browser. I'm definitely going to use this. I'm going to keep mine on that side probably, but I'm definitely going to use this to launch up some of these applications that have, they take a much longer period of time to actually launch now. You guys can see when you launch up Google Chrome, you have to go to the new tab, and if you guys have these things set out, you can set up Facebook, but mine's in the apps, and then I click on Facebook. So I mean, that's a lot slower than just clicking the quick launch, and then it opens up on facebook.com. Now keep in mind, you can put whatever URL you want in this launch browser class. So if you want to link to facebook.com/teknikhackers, you guys can simply change that, and this will launch into my my profile on facebook.com. There you go. You can see this is my, it's gonna like that pic. So yeah, if you guys want to do that, you guys can. I don't like it to be like that. I'm just gonna leave it at facebook.com. So the only thing left to do is to actually make this thing pop up when you launch a browser. Now, something that I forgot to mention is that you have to create an exe. Okay, so I already have a tutorial on how to create an exe. The only problem with that is it doesn't support JDK 7. It will support JDK 8. So eventually when JDK 8 comes out, you just have to simply change your project resource, update to JDK 8, and then change it in your project properties to use JDK 8 instead. Now the problem that we have is that that program I used to make an exe doesn't support JDK 7, and it's not going to support JDK 7. It only supports JDK 6 and 6 and 5, I think. So I don't know how else to create an exe. I know there's some other programs that can do it for you, but once you have an exe, you simply want to right click or double click and install it, and it'll install in your C drive or wherever you chose. So just for the purpose of the tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to actually make it pop up when you start up your PC. So for this purpose of the video, I'm just going to use Bandicam as an example. So let's pretend Bandicam is your quick widget setup, or basically your application. You want to right click on your quick launch widget, go down to create a shortcut. Yes, it'll place it on the desktop, and let me just show my desktop icons. So I'm going to rename this to widget, okay, just so it's easier for you guys to see what's happening. So this is basically a shortcut to this actual program right here. So when we double click on this shortcut, it'll actually open up this main program. So once you have your shortcut, you just want to click on this browser, this file browser on the top, and you're going to type in shell and then a double dot and then startup, and this is basically where you put your startup shortcuts. So you simply drag and drop the widget shortcut into the startup program, and now whenever you start your PC up, it'll run whatever's in the startup folder, and that's when this widget will be launched, basically when you actually start up your PC or when you log into your account. Okay, so a few things to note before I end off this video is that in order to make any widget, there's a few steps you need to follow. Firstly, your widget needs to be very simple. It needs to be really good looking, because this is going to be on someone's desktop, so it has to look really nice. The next thing to note is that you have to use a J dialog, not a J frame, so that it doesn't pop up in this taskbar at the bottom. The next thing to note is that you must have this thing to be non-resizable, so you cannot resize it by clicking and dragging on the corners, and also it needs to be undecorated, so you don't have the normal J frame that Netbeans or that Windows gives you. So that's how you create a simple widget. You guys can do this with the clock tutorial. If you follow in the same playlist, the application tutorial playlist, you guys will find out I have a clock widget. You guys can turn the clock widget into, oh no wait, it's not a clock widget, it's a clock, but you guys can turn the clock into a clock widget. Another thing to note really quick is you want to, once you have everything done, you want to quickly build your program, and then you want to go into your project properties. So documents, Netbeans projects, quick launch widget, and then dist, and then you can launch your widget from this jar file. So there's our widget running without the use of Netbeans. Everything will still work. You guys can see Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, and YouTube. So you can put this wherever you want. I have another screen, so I can put it on my other screen if I want. But if you guys go ahead and make this, make sure you send me some pictures, post a video response if you guys want to make a short video. If you guys make a different widget, make sure you send it to me on Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is. I'll definitely have a look at it, and in my future videos I'll have a little bar on the side with all our subscribers or all our supporters. If you guys follow our videos and actually do them at home, I'll put like a link with your name or your channel name, and other people can check out, you know, basically what you created from watching our tutorial. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to leave us a comment, like, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.